Hello and welcome to cofeezen. We will be interviewing, having a discussion with Nico Silja. He is a senior iOS dev in South Africa. He's a really smart guy. I studied with him. This is just a discussion on a few aspects, the tech aspects, tech industry in general. And yeah, enjoy, Nico.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Michiel. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's good. So I guess I'll start off with just talking a little bit about your professional experience, where you started, where you are now. If you can just maybe take us through that.
Yeah, for sure. Hello everyone. I'm a senior iOS developer for about 3 years experience. Mostly in South Africa. Grew up, studied, and work in South Africa. It's a bit odd to say I'm a senior iOS developer with 3 years experience, but I would like to think that I'm very dedicated in what I do. So yeah, it's my background is South Africa, um, and yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Yeah. So I guess this is one of those situations where you find yourself in professionally wise, where you're definitely qualified enough to do the job, but your experience, don't necessarily tell the same story. From personal experience, me working with you, I definitely know that you were already on senior standards way before you actually gain any work experience, and I'm sure anyone that has worked with you can testify to this. You worked together with the Pennsylvania State University in America on a project, if I remember correctly, in third year.
Yeah, that's correct. I think there's a big difference, between the years of experience that you have in time and the experience that you have in knowledge. And I recently went through rounds of interviews with various companies, and I think most companies have a big stigma on how many years of experience you have in time, but they don't really take into account your actual work experience in depth of what you did, what technical areas you covered, and so on. So I think there is a bit of a gap there. So you know, it's usually, the typical question is, at what years of experience do you think someone is a senior, or at what years of experience do you think someone is a junior? And I think if you look at the industry, there's not really a clean cut, you know, line that says, okay, 2 years, under 3 years, you're a junior, whatever, and at 3 years you begin intermediate, and 7 years you're senior. I think there's a reason why there's not that clean cut area, is because it doesn't really depend on how much time you spend in your area of expertise. It depends on how many areas you covered within that time, how many technical projects you did, and just the degree to what your knowledge has been tested on.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and yeah,
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you there, but yeah, definitely. I think you mentioned something very important. The whole clear cut lines thing is not something that I think exists in the tech industry anywhere. I've noticed. Yeah. So just for background for the listeners, I'm also a South African, so I'm a data analyst or business intelligence analyst. So I also started my career in SA. I recently immigrated to the Netherlands, and I'm currently working here as a business intelligence consultant. And even here, I noticed that they would say that they want a senior data analyst, but then if you look at the requirements, they want you to have 3 years with Power BI experience. That doesn't make sense to me. But in other cases, you hear they want a senior and then they want 10 years experience. So I think it's deeply flawed. If flawed is the right word, but I think there needs to be more clear cut understanding of what it means to be a senior dev or a senior engineer. And I personally believe that once those lines have been drawn, or if those lines will ever be drawn, you get a better understanding and feeling, especially for new junior devs that's just starting out, and maybe people that's just finished with matric looking to go into the IT field. That's one of the things that I think you have to consider. You know, you'll be working at one place as a junior and the other place as a senior, but the work will be exactly the same. The senior role might have more documentation because you have to report to the business owners, but in general, in essence, the job will be the same.
Yeah, I guess it is quite difficult to like assess, and fair credit to the industry. It is difficult to assess someone and get an idea of how uh, senior they are, if you would call that a word. But uh, because you can't really say, okay, if you have to sum it up to someone, you can't really say, okay, I'm a all your knowledge, condense it into a term that sums up everything that you've done. You can't really do that. So it is difficult to say how experienced you are without giving it in years. Um, so, but definitely there's a time that you're going to reach when you start a career that, especially, well, I can only speak about development. There that you reach the period where you transition from being a junior to being a associate to being an intermediate to being a senior to being a staff and principal, and so on and so forth. You reach those times, and you sort of think about it, and you think back, and you wonder, what's the difference? Like, what changed? How am I different? And when do I know that I'm in a junior, or that I'm in a intermediate phase, or I'm in a senior phase? And it is difficult to like go through it and wonder, where are you in the phases. But I don't think you need to stress as much about it. Those things usually come with time, and uh, you know you might be in a position where you are a senior or you're intermediate, but you don't feel like it. You still feel like a junior. I have that time, and I know many other people do. So those things, they just come with time, and you just have to sort of trust the process. And once you know that you are senior, then you know you're a senior. Like, it's one of those things that's very difficult to explain, but you know it when you're there. But um, yeah,
Yeah, I think, and you touched on something important. You know, that whole imposter syndrome, to use the clinical term now. But yeah, I guess that's in any career, or in any facet of life. It's like that, you know. Yeah. So just to move on, for new students coming out of university, or new students starting their career in IT. Do you have any advice for them, or career track wise, or what would you advise them to make sure to skill up on, and to make sure that they have the necessary technical expertise to become a senior software engineer, or a senior in IT? What would you suggest,
yeah,
or what would you advise them to do?
yeah. Sure, great question. I think I'd like to preface it with, don't I see many people that I studied with in university, and many people that I encounter on a day-to-day basis in the industry and in my own place of work. Is There's a lot of people that get into the industry purely for the money, or because it's a very secure profession, or they do it for various reasons. And I would say one thing, like, don't get into software development or IT purely for the money, or purely because your parents told you to, or any of those reasons. You really need to have a drive for it. You really need to have a passion for it. It doesn't mean, passion is very different for every person. Doesn't mean you have to read every book and develop 50 applications every day, and all those sort of things. All it means is that you have a strong inclination to learn more. And whenever you learn something about software development, does it drain you or does it energize you? And I think if it energizes you, then you're on a good path. If it drains you, then maybe look at different paths. So yeah, I think the big reason for that is there's so many people in the industry that are passionate about what they do, and the unfortunate thing is you're going to get into the industry for the money basis of it, and the industry is nice. You do get paid well. You do get a lot of benefits. Remote work is very good benefit, and a whole host of other things. But the one thing that you also have to understand is it does come with drawbacks. There are certain times that you have to make, you have to work long hours, or you have to make sacrifices now and again. And the unfortunate thing is the people that are in it for the money, they tend to not make those sacrifices because it's a bit too much for them. Whereas the people that are passionate about it, they sort of they handle a bit more stress, more harder work, more overtime, and all that. Um, so you will get sort of, if you're in it for the money, you will get sort of pushed to the side, and you won't get the nice positions that the people get that are very dedicated towards what they do. So it is, make sure that you get in it for the right reasons. Don't get in it for the money, because those positions go. The people that earn the most are the people that work the most and that are usually the dedicated the most. So I'd like to preface it with that. Yeah, I think the other advice I have is get in, and when you're young and when you just get into software development, there is a lot of opportunities. I think I haven't seen one company, or okay, maybe startups, but pretty much 99% of companies out there have some sort of internship or graduate program, or there's there's an incentive to get young people in. So one thing I would say is take advantage of that. Don't be scared about it, and make sure that you really take the time to think about the graduate program that you're taking, because it is an important step. It's not, you might join a graduate program and then a month into it you think, oh well, this is not really what I expected, and then you can't really go back and join, can't really join another one. So make sure you make the right decision, but also don't overthink it. It is the start of a career you're probably going to be in it for 20 to 25 years, maybe 30 years. So don't overthink it too much. If you make a mistake, you have a lot of time to adjust. Like it's not the end of the road. With that being said, also try to take advantage of yourself being young and take risks. If you for example join in as a web developer and you think mobile is a good space, or you think AI is a good space, then upskill yourself in that and explore that. That's what I did, and it definitely pays off. You have to understand that you're going to do this for 8 hours a day, for 5 days a week, for pretty much a long time. So you need to make sure that you enjoy what you're doing, and if you don't, then look and see what things you want to try out, and make sure you try them out while you're still young, while you have time, because as you get older, people do tend to look for more experienced developers in a certain niche area. So try to explore what you can in the early stages. Find something that you love. If you love web development, that's awesome. If you love mobile, that's great. If you love AI, that's amazing. If you love another part of development, databases, I think you have a bit more experience on that, Michiel. But if you love other parts, then just find the part that you fall in love with and stick to that. So that's all I had to add to that. Sorry, Michiel, I think I interrupted you.
No, not at all. That is fantastic, fantastic advice, and I could not have said better myself. Yeah, that's it, guys. Tune in next week for the next episode. Yeah, have a good one.